In your top story, the plight of asylum seekers in South Africa is once again in the spotlight. Now, this follows claims of bad treatment at the Home Affairs offices in Marabastad, Pretoria. Asylum seekers are describing the centre as a prison-like environment where foreign nationals are treated like animals and forced to pay various bribes. They also allege there are people who hang around the centre to rob them. The scamsters are also set to force applicants to pay a sum of money before they are allowed inside. Meanwhile, similar claims of abuse have been made in the past about the Cape Town office. The Home Affairs Department was not immediately available for comment. And now joining me in studio is Nora Okonkwo, Nigerian expert. We have Dr. Yir Komba, Deputy Chairperson of ADF, and human rights activist Jean Boissa. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining me here in studio.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right, I'm going to start with you, sir. Now, this is not the first time that we are hearing of this and that the country is experiencing this treatment has been taking place at the Home Affairs offices in South Africa. It's still continuing. What is your reaction around that?
ATF is not surprised because in 2016 we actually ran a survey with regards to this situation, and we addressed the issue to the Minister of the Department of Home Affairs, Mr. Malusi Gigaba, who promised to address the issue further. But up to now, nothing has been done. So the situation is getting worse, and we just are trying to address the issue to the government to try to see actually what can be done.
And looking at some of those paperwork that you have gotten to see and check whether things are going well, it seems as if it's increasing. Nothing has changed. Now, are the officers at Home Affairs ever reported on? Like, have they been told of how not to treat the people? Is there maybe perhaps a system that has been put in place where people can actually rate the service at Home Affairs so that maybe the government can sift through those comments?
Basically, the service has been actually improved in terms of the system, the IT, to try to eliminate the element of overcrowdedness of the applicants. But I think the issue is more relative to the fact that some officials are still, they don't understand the impact of such work. We address the government to actually try to create more resources to train the officers, because we realize that bribes are there as an element and corruption are there as well. So there is a lack of understanding when it comes to the official really treating the migrants in such regards.
And Jean Boissa, what do you think are the issues that the department needs to actually look into and they seem to be turning a blind eye on?
Well, I do believe, and thank you for having us on this platform, and to your viewers so that they're listening, about the plight that we migrants are living in the condition we're going through in South Africa regarding the applications at Home Affairs, various Home Affairs. In fact, there has been improvement, as Doctor has said, in terms of the condition. Let's say, for instance, you go there, there's not the queues that we used to find in 2003, 2004. So the improvement is there, and we must commend and acknowledge that. But nevertheless, we still see that things are not right. We have brothers and relatives that usually go to Home Affairs, and the reports that we receive is really despicable in such a way that sometimes they got stolen of their phones, sometimes they are ill-treated by the officials. I had an incident where about one of the applicants went there and they said, you should come on a given day. You didn't come on that day, and your paper is smelling. And this is really, really not dignifying in terms of human rights. Yet, in terms of the preamble of the South African Constitution, it states that South Africa is a country where every single individual belongs to the land here, belongs to South Africa. But yet, indeed, some people are still being scapegoated as being migrants. And I think it is about time that these issues are being addressed by the Minister of Home Affairs, as well as the entire government, to take a stand, because they're talking about Agenda 2063 in terms of Africa, but nothing is being done internally regarding the migrants in SA.
And I'm just going to bring into the conversation Mr. Okonkwo. We understand that the asylum seekers have been describing the center as a prison-like environment. How should the environment be for the asylum seekers that the government is not looking into?
Well, it's more or less neither here or there. It should be an environment that is conducive, that allows you space to navigate and do what you want to do conducively. For instance, if you go for a visa interview at the United States Consul or the British Embassy or the Turkish Embassy, you see how the place is. What they are saying is that make those places seem those comfortable for applicants seeking refugee status in your country to feel welcomed, and base your decisions on declination or acceptance on merit, not on discriminatory tendencies. When you show someone love, it goes a long way to ease the pain the individual is going through. And when in the process of showing that person love, that the papers are not okay for me to grant you asylum here, the person equally understands. There's no way else to put it. For instance, is it at Maribastad?
Yes, Maribastad.
But yeah, they call it. It's like when I'm driving in the morning to go and drop my kids at school, I pass through this place and I see this labor place. A lot of people are lined up. They are going to go and get their money or what. That place is, I don't know, it's just like a hustling zone. It's supposed to be somewhere you walk inside, you have a seat, the air conditioner is cooling you down, people are attending to you, and you feel welcomed that, you know, your case might be heard. So they need to work on those things. The ambience should be accepted, the environment should be conducive, the interior should be okay for people to be relaxed. Not you be standing for hours without being there. They file you as if, I don't know, in a single file, as if you are, I don't know.
Mr. Kumba, let me hear some of the measures that should be put in place to curb some of those situations that take place.
Right. First of all, we need to educate the people. Right, because it is not comprehensible to realize that almost 95% of applicants are denied asylum seekers. When you see the situation in Africa, you see the situation in South Cameroon called Ambazonia, the situation in South Sudan, Boko Haram, and so on. All those are facts that for a huge number of applicants to apply and being rejected, I mean, it doesn't serve any purpose. So as ADF, what we were trying to do is to address this issue at the presidential level. To actually, we're busy actually writing a letter to seek for a summit on migration, on migrants. This is the first thing that we should be doing. And also, like I will re-emphasize, we need government to intervene to provide people with resources so that they are trained properly. Because it is not normal that because people don't have any home, that they should be treated like animals. And coming from the fact that this venue, this center is named under a prominent icon such as Desmond Tutu, who's a human rights defender, who is a Prize Nobel winning award. I mean, it is a disgrace. And I think government should be trying to act against the distortion of his name. So that's basically my take on it.
Jean, let me bring you back into the conversation. We've heard Dr. Kumba talking about resources that are not made available at the Home Affairs departments. We've heard reports saying that there's unsuitable office equipment, poor facilities, long queues and lack of security at most of these departments. Where can the department rather start in order to get its house in order?
Well, I would say, first of all, where they would start is to educate the immigration officers, because some of them, I tend to believe that some of them do not know the immigration laws properly. So it is important that, first of all, they know what are the dispositions and the provision of the immigration law, because you would find there are people that have been in this country for 20 years, and until now, they're still on an asylum seeker paper for 20 years. That has been renewed without a decision to tell the person you have been rejected. And again, when they tell the person that he has been rejected, he goes in a country where there is war. He goes in a country where there is conflict. Where would he go? Because he has no place. There has been people who have been asking maybe to relocate in Canada, in the US, where they could find a place to stay. But the South African government, with regard to the convention that they have signed, have been refusing to let those people relocate elsewhere. So I think the very first commitment from the government would be normally to educate the officials at Home Affairs. The equipment is there. It's not that there's no equipment. You go there, there are computers, there's everything. So normally the service should be going smoothly. But people have the tendency to say, let me have my cup of coffee first. It's not only in South Africa. You see that also overseas in Europe, where people are not necessarily interested to welcome migrants whom they think they are a burden to their economy. Yet they are not. We could also at the same time take the benefit, because we are Africans. We only see this with Africans. I haven't seen it with other nationalities. We could actually use the Africans that are coming to South Africa, which belong to everyone who lives in it, and make a transfer of skills. I read the white paper of immigration is in 2014, which says that generally they get those that are not equipped in terms of their intellectual level. But that's not true. You've got those asylum seekers. Some of them are medical doctors. They are engineers. So maybe South Africa must rethink the way to use that manpower that is coming to South Africa and give them the permit and have transfer of skills and create employment for those people that are coming in. So the first step would be to train the immigration officer. The second one, how could we possibly use the manpower that is here, the migrants, and transfer the skills that they have? You see, for instance, my brother who's Nigerian, they know how to do business. How do we make that business profitable for the South Africans so that they also learn that skills of making business and creating employment?
You've touched on service inside. I want to talk about outside. How is the government looking into that issue? Is the SAPS sometimes there, or are they never seen out there? Because we've heard reports that people have been reporting cases where outside the Home Affairs Department they have been robbed as well.
Well, as I said earlier on, the service has improved from 2003, where we used to be beaten at Home Affairs. I do remember those. And now we used to sleep at Home Affairs. You sleep there for 2-3 days until you got served. Now mainly people go there, they know that there's a nationality that will go on a given day. So you go there on that day and you'll be served. Maybe you'll be served at 4, which is quite late. What if you were working? So that day for you, you're going to miss it. So the police are barely there, and that is another opportunity where the police could come and do some work there so that people are moving smoothly. So the robbery, it's a human factor, but which we normally tend to disagree. Why should you come and rob your brother who has come like you to seek and to search for a living? So this is quite unacceptable, and it is important that the police is there and they can be seen and they can arrest the perpetrator of those crimes.
Mr. Okonkwo, I just want to get to your closing comments on this one.
Basically, we should have a welcome attitude to immigrants who are in your country by showing empathy to sympathy when they come to get papers. And it's also, some people might be ignorant of the fact that if you possess a professional qualification like being an engineer, or maybe being a lawyer, or maybe being a medical doctor, you should apply for critical skill exemption for permanent residence than to come and be seeking asylum for renewal. That being the case, it then behoves on the immigration staff that you meet. Now, what goes on is, for the issue of asylum, they go to one place. But if you're going for permit, then it goes to the VFS, which is much more better because the office is more conducive. You don't stand on the road. So they should also create such an environment whereby these people will walk into, even if it's like a hall, you know, they'll sit down, there'll be seats, they sit down, okay, and they will have, it will be a conducive atmosphere where the air conditioners are working, and then they will have tags. And then what's the announcement will go, ticket number this, come to counter this and that. People will feel at home. So even if you are rejecting the person, you are rejecting the person based on the merits of the application, not because the person is from here or from there.
All right. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining me in studio. That was Noor Okonkwo, a Nigerian expert. We also had Dr. Komba, Deputy Chairperson of ADF, and human rights activist Jean Boissa. And now, Africa Tonight. We'll take a short break. We'll be back with more news and updates. Stay tuned.